and had to do a meeting with like one of the loan officers. We're trying to buy a house, and it's first time ever, so like fingers crossed. But that was fun to wake up and like my spouse was like, "Wake up, we got the loan officer call." What? All right, recording has been started. So, welcome to Therian Dispelling the Earthen Animal Myth. If y'all have been to the panel at OtherCon or Centauros Festival, you'll be seeing this it's going to be the same script. At Centauros Festival, I premiered the slideshow, so this is going to be its second premiere. New brand new, of course, for Therian Convergence. Hopefully I can stay on track, but brain is tired. So, there will be a Q&A later after the slideshow is done. I booked an hour, but we'll see how long it goes. I'm going to be hopping over to panel discussion 3 just so that I don't have to keep looking at 2 different chat channels. So, let us begin. Therian, Dispelling the Earthen Animal Myth. Introduction. For many individuals in the non-human community today, terminology is learned by word of mouth from individuals that have resided in the community for longer, and then pass that knowledge to further newcomers. Such is the way for many communities, but as a method of information transfer, it can contribute to the loss and future lack of information. Such is the case of our beloved word Therian. Today, I'm going to be talking about the evolution of the word from its earliest predecessor, phenotype, to its current meaning of identifying as an earthen animal, and how it obtained this incredibly narrow and exclusatory meaning. My goal and hope is to bring solace and to open a new avenue to those who have previously identified with the term, but were told or had assumed they do not fit the definition. Preface. Just as we coin new terms today in order to better convey our understanding of what it is to be not ultra-human, so did those in our past. To better understand what influenced the changes of our terms, we must go back to the beginning of our recorded history in order to learn the roots of our terminology. Some quotes may sound oddly worded or tilted in cadence. Many older sources interweave therianthropy with totem animals, which are no longer discussed today within Therian circles. Full quotes can be found within the source links, but have no basis on today's topic and thus have been omitted. Other terms, such as otherkin, are going to be mentioned in reference to how intersectionality has occurred through the years, but are not the focus of today's gathering. Some of the sources that I will be utilizing must be understood as a product of their time, as our understanding of therianthropy has evolved since the community's first gatherings. Today's topic is not meant to be a commentary or a discussion on how the understanding of therianthropy as an identity and experience has evolved. Finally, everything that is going to be talked about today, I wasn't present for in the community to experience firsthand. Instead, this will be an analysis of historical documents, including personal websites and forums, among other community gatherings. I do not speak as a total authority on this subject matter. I am merely bringing to light what, I feel with evidence, was maliciously made to be forgotten. Thus, I welcome anyone who was present in the community during these times I mentioned today to correct any inconsistencies in my information. Our history is incomplete due to the nature of the internet, and I will happily accept any primary sources that alter or clarify the information I have. Alt Horror Werewolves. Alt Horror Werewolves was a Usenet group in which the Therian community can trace its originating roots to. While it is a name many have heard in passing, it is a product of a very early version of the internet. It's literally as old as me. Its name refers to its original purpose. It was essentially, as we would understand it today, a subforum that was dedicated to fans of the horror genre of media, specifically focusing on werewolves. Fans would gather at Alt Horror Werewolves to discuss werewolf media, but it also attracted a slightly different type of fan. Through the first year of the group's existence, topics would be posted asking about real life werewolves, some to the tune of claiming to be werewolves. Anyone, quote, anyone else who feels the blood of the beast in them, end quote. While many users wrote off such topics as role players, discussions of the nature continued to trickle in numbers until shortly after the website's first birthday. A thread was posted by the owner of the forum himself, speaking about how his interest in werewolves stemmed from wanting to get back in touch with nature and with his feelings of animality. This topic opened a sluice gate of further threads on the subject, talking about the nature of man and the buried feelings of the animal inside. A werebat by the name of Ron created a thread speaking about a dream in which he, as a werebat, was fighting a werewolf, and stated, "Sorry, werewolves of the net, it's nothing personal against your phenotype." This is one of, if not the earliest surviving mention of the term phenotype, and the first umbrella term to be coined in order to discuss other werebeasts that were not wolves. Not long after, however, another thread proposed the term theriomorph, which is the term that alt horror werewolves frequently asked questions would go on to use for years. Yet the words were and were creature and lycanthrope continue to be the most commonly used terms among the community. A year after Theriomorph was coined, a were native creature by the name of James created a topic stating that the continued use of the word lycanthropy was confusing and asked anyone besides me heard of the term therianthropy, which is a more general term for lycanthropy. This is the oldest surviving thread on alt horror werewolves that uses the term and gained many supporters to the point of being adopted as the term we know today. But as old habits die hard, the origins of our community being rooted in werebeast terminology and aesthetic produced the popular term wereside as an alternative to phenotype, and soon after the coining of polyware, the predecessor to polytherian. The term shifter referred to therians of all sorts, but typically focused on those who felt dramatic mental or phantom shifts, and was a term used well into the 2000s. The term were mythic was also coined at this time, though never caught popularity as animals of all sorts had been present and accepted in the community since the beginning. Yes, alt horror werewolves was host to many different types of animals, regardless of wolf in the name. We know this by a surviving practice called werecards. Werecards were user fillable surveys of information on a were creature, including that included a section to self-identify one's stereotype. Notable examples include chimeras, griffins, dragons, unicorns, hybrid creatures of all sorts, tigrin, anthro animals, giants, phoenix, centaur, manticore, and even the infamous Were Pontiac. Yes, the make of car. However, alt horror werewolves' reign as the community hub would not last, and members were scattered to new forums and personal websites as one of the first and largest of its time unified trolling events destroyed the forum's usage. But all was not lost, as the members' scatter brought the newly founded community to the internet at large and kicked off a golden age of discussion, introspection, and awakening. Therianthropy, the wild plains. Out in the wild of the internet, where creatures took their lycanthropy based linguistics and shared it with non-were creature individuals who asked the question of why were and why just wolves. While students of all alt horror werewolf members would continue to use were-based linguistics for well over a decade, and in some cases into modern days, such as our current word for shifts. Many others took Therian and ran into the tall grass. A commonality between non-humans of the time was ask 10 therianthropes what therianthropy is, and you'll get 11 different answers. Yet a general consensus shows that those answers were all on the same page. Twilight Fox in 1998 writes, a phenotype is an integral part of themselves, something which can never be seen as separate from themselves. Therianthrope.org, carrying over from alt horror werewolves frequently asked questions, which was captured on the Internet Archives in 1998, states therianthropy is the ability to mentally transform from the normal human mode of thinking and reacting to an animal one. Lynx's Temple in 2000 writes, fundamentally, it means that you in some way perceive yourself as occupying the liminal space between human, anthropos, and wild animal, therion. And in Conversation adapted from Alt Horror Werewolves, quote, I prefer the word animality or wereside. I myself don't like the word phenotype. It really is a misnomer. End quote. According to Winged Wolf in 2003, the variety of phenotypes is very long and even includes some animals which are thought to be mythical or legendary, such as dragons and native spirits. Korok says in 2004, a therianthrope or were is a person who feels that they have some connection to an animal. They might think that they are an animal inside, in mind or spirit, or that they are part animal in this way. The cloven-hooved goddess, also in 2004, writes, therianthropes are people who share an integral connection with an animal in such a way that they believe themselves to be that animal in either a spiritual, mental, emotional capacity. And further states, nobody has the right to claim that dragons cannot be therianthropes. It is up to the individual to choose which label to identify themselves as. Aurora Wolfen, again in 2004, states, there are also wares whose phenotype, if not of this earth like dragons and griffins, is not of this earth like dragons and griffins, though some say these are not wares, but other kin. Aquila, once more in 2004, states, therianthropy is a constant state of being and a way of experiencing or perceiving the world that leads a person to identify as an animal. Masashina states in 2005, therianthropy is the belief that one is, in whole or in part, one or more animals in some manner other than physically, and goes on to qualify this with Therians are those believing to having an animal soul, sometimes also mythical animals or extinct ones. Quill tells us in 2006, therianthropy is a state of being in which the therianthrope exists, lives, thinks, has instincts, and often acts as a non-human animal. Miera, also in 2006, defines it very simply as therianthropy is animality. Project Shift defines it in the years between 2008 and 2010 as the state of being a person who is, feels, or believes that they are in part or whole, non physically, one or more non human animals on an integral personal level. True Form Within in 2009, thank you, Truck, states a stereotype can be any sort of animal, living or extinct, and goes on to qualify it with over the past couple of years, there has been a huge increase in stereotypes other than wolves, as well as an increase in those whose phenotype are more astral creatures, such as phoenix, or dragons, elves, and phoenix, etc. Moonsong writes in the years between 2009 and 2011, Therian is any human that identifies with a non human animal. They could identify with it spiritually, mentally, and sometimes physically. So, where and how did it change? Somewhere around 2006 is where primary sources in the form of cataloged websites begin to wane in frequency. Thus, this is where hard evidence begins to become scarce. We can speculate on why, and my personal theories include the movement of communities from forum style chat functions to increasingly popular instant messaging formats such as Skype, the loss of internet savviness and thus the lost knowledge of submitting online information to the Internet Archive, the loss of interest in hosting personal websites, in addition to the loss of hosting services such as GeoCities and FreeWebs, the closing of once active but later inactive forums, as well as the roiling turmoil of constantly emerging and dying web hosts, such as AOL. In 2002, we see the earliest recorded description that I could find of what Therians are versus otherkin. Glendarry describes otherkin as therianthrope whose bonded creatures are mythical beings such as dragons and elves. Otherkin are actually therianthropes, whereby no M shifting occurs, mental shifting, but they have a constant feeling of being like their bond entity. Granted, while I did not specifically read into Otherkin's history, my research into our term's history finds that it intersects at points with Otherkin, going all the way back to alt horror werewolves to be exact. And this is a very early point in time to encounter this sentiment, which suggests that the argument of Therian's experience, other can identify, has been going on much longer than previously thought. It also displays an early schism between the mythical and earthen definitions, being the earliest definition that I was able to find in which distinctly defines mythical creatures as strictly otherkin. I reached out to Orion Scribner in order to hear from someone who was present in the alter human community during that time, and they suggested reading The Field Guide to Otherkin by Lupa, as they recalled a shift in definitions around the time she was gathering information to be included in the book. Field Guide was published in late 2007, and one can speculate it was one, if not more, years in the making, putting the dates of the obtained information an estimated 2006 to 2007. Under the definition section of the book, Lupa defines therianthropy as people who identify as earth-based animals in some respect. She later qualifies this statement with, there is some debate as to whether therianthropy should be limited only to those who identify as animals native to this plane of existence. She does mention that several surveyed dragons identified as Therians, but this is the extent of her touching on the subject. And yet it's the earliest specified definition that I've been able to find that claims Therians are earthen animals only. Considering the Therian community has always had non-earthen animals within it, it's hard to imagine how a community with such strong roots started to oust established members. Lupa's field guide doesn't seem to be the origin of the definition, but it is arguable that it's a cornerstone in its proliferation, due to how well the book encapsulates the community as a whole, and even continues into today, so far as to be recommended as an accurate overview of what it is to be alter human. An even earlier source than Lupa's field guide, and one that had great influence upon her writings, goes by the title of The Magic of Shapeshifting. Released in 2000 and authored by Rosalind Green, the book's contents, of which describe how shapeshifting supposedly works in this world, are controversial at best, and physically impossible and incredibly discouraging at worst. but it's definitely an entertaining, if dangerous, read, and gives us some insight into some of the most interesting, evolving interactions of the Therian community post alt horror werewolves. Within her book, Green delves into the physics of how shifters are tied to their species, needing access to the energy of the animal in order to assume the correct form. Thus, mythical or fictional animals are impossible forms for shifters to have. However, she does go on to qualify the argument for both earthen animals only, that one would need the energy of the living animal to reference from, and for all species, wherein animals that are nearly extinct or incredibly difficult to find physically, such as the tiger, which is popular in shifters, can still be accessed due to the energy from the collective subconscious and its essential structure. With that said, I unfortunately have no definitively sourced knowledge of how the earthen animal only definition came to exist, or why the schism began. I only have speculation. Did Green's The Magic of Shapeshifting touch on a real schism in the Therian community that was latent enough I couldn't find evidence for it? Or was it fabricated for entertainment? Regardless, it was damning enough for Lupa to include in the field guide, a 101 source for many Therians through the years. So, why did it change in the community's lexicon? Orion gave me their opinion on the matter, and as it's wonderfully succinct, I'll quote them. Therianthropes have always tended to be defensive about trying to be seen as plausible, whether for spiritual or psychological reasons, and a few felt imaginary beings were too implausible. From the sources I've read on the matter, I agree. The few gaped kept the many, and over time it became the only definition. There exists the concept of an online echo chamber. It is a phenomena in which individuals within a closed community learn about a topic and only discuss amongst themselves, thus prompting all members of the echo chamber to believe they, and only they, have the correct information on the topic. If the echo chamber becomes the primary source of information on a topic, only that information will ever be known by newcomers, as well as from those that spread the information beyond the echo chamber's walls. Late in 2008, a burgeoning forum, one of few of its kind of the time, named Therian Wilderness, presented the earthen animal definition to its members. An admin going by the name of Ray Harakti posted, Therians are a type of otherkin. Otherkin is just kin different to standard animal and men, and therianthropes are the branch that are referred to as earthen animal humans. Other otherkin are everything considered not to be earthly animals. Other admins go on to qualify that this was the definition used on all of the personal sites that they had seen, and it would become the definition used by the forum even up to today, where it can be found in the forum's terms and definitions board. Many in attendance may recognize the name of the forum. It was one of the most popular forums for Therians through 2015, but it was also infamous for being somewhat hostile to anyone who wasn't an earthen animal. Messages and threads through the years showed otherkin or non-earthen animals, such as dragons, being told there's not much here for you, and their introduction post being the last interaction they'd had on the site. Similarly, when individuals argued for non-earthen animals to be able to use the term Therian, they were shut down in favor of the argument of, this is how it always has been, suck it up, even when objectively shown the forum was being exclusive or outright ignoring community history. The unyielding nature of its users and the population of the forum presented the community with only one option, thus locked new community members into only knowing the exclusive definition, not fostering a community that helped others find language that helped them better understand themselves. I am a Therian. I'm a genetically modified hybrid dinosaur. I may have been able to pass the mirror test, but I could never have understood the ramifications of being an unnatural animal. I was an animal and I still am. I experienced dinosaur drives, dinosaur instincts, the urge to chirp, roar, bite, swim, hunt. How does that make me any different than a lion, than a vulture, than a dolphin? The term Therian was always meant to describe animals, but that was taken from those of us who don't fit a perfect, unobtainable mold casted by respectability politics. I joined the community in 2017, and I learned the Earthen animal definition of Therian. I felt this odd sense of belonging to it, but was shoved out of it. It wasn't until 2001 that I learned the history of the term. So now I share it with you, in hopes that it helps at least one someone find a piece of their identity that they were missing. And that's it. The slideshow is available to download from my website. The there is also the, let me just grab the link for y'all cuz it's going to be easier if I do that. Go back over to you. Boop. There is the link to my website where the essay is written. On the side, there are various types of download links. There are links to my other presentations of this so that you can peruse how my information has changed because through talking with some people that weren't originally involved in my writing process were able to give me some insight into how do I want to put this? Indoctrinating that let me see if I can go back previous uh Therian Wilderness was. I do have that notated on the side of my page there, saying that I included some new citations. If you download the slideshow, all of these are clickable. Like, I could try and click this, but it's just going to take me to my web browser, and that's not going to be helpful for anybody here. Yeah. Did anybody have any questions on my research, on the writing process, so on and so forth? Okay. Thank you, everyone. When I learned from House of Chimeras that Therian didn't always mean earthen animal in 2001, and when I was absolutely perplexed, absolutely baffled beyond, you know, and I told them, I'm like, "What do you mean that it doesn't mean earthen animal?" Um, and it immediately became, I need to find this for myself. And since then, I've been doing activism to try and bring it back to the people because it is a term that can be so helpful for so many different types of alter humans. It's not even funny. A couple of things that I have gone through in previous presentations is Um, one of the huge reasons why this research project, essay, presentation was even possible is that people made personal websites and then archived them to the Internet Archive. And, or there were people who were archiving websites just in general. I pose this to everybody in attendance today. Please think about making a personal website, just like I linked in the chat. You can NeoCities is very easy to use. I'm always happy to help anybody who doesn't know how to code but wants something simple, There is so much information lost through the years because we don't have it just never was archived. And I cannot stress enough how it's the little piddly stuff that became the biggest use to this research project. Like, if I can go back to, let me scroll a little bit. Yeah, this one. This Glendari page was incredibly simple. It was a 2002 page, so it was a white background with like a black border, maybe some links on it, and just your basic looking text. It didn't look anything like mine, but finding this quote was so huge and helped put things on the timeline. And it seems so innocuous because it the webpage looked like it was trying to be a dictionary. Like a lot of early sites tried to have their own personal definitions of the alterhuman community on their personal website, which if that is something you're interested in hosting, I definitely suggest you do. Describe your experiences, your views of the community in your own words, because it helps us historians take a snapshot of what the community was doing at that moment in time. So, as I mentioned, this was such an important linchpin of my research to find this, that ultimately it didn't totally lead to a conclusion, but it does give us a great idea of how did the definition change? When did it change? But the rest of this person's website wasn't documented. It was like this page and a couple others. I don't know what else was on their website. So if you have the chance, it doesn't have to be yeah. Um Drachmana posted a gif of Gandalf reading a bunch of papers. Daski be like, is like it's true though. Like before I did this research project, I had very little interest in community history. And as soon as I realized that our history is actually very important because it helps us be more inclusive, is when I'm like, well, crap, now I'm a historian, I guess. um, you don't have to be a historian, identify as a historian. You don't have to go through eye-searingly bright early 2000 websites to be a historian. The best thing that I can suggest is to help with the human. Oh crap, I forgot what the term is. Alter Human Archive Project, I think is what it's called. This is so funny because I was just given admin permission to edit it. I feel so bad now, I forgot the name. If you ever write a personal essay, or even if you write something silly like my stereotype and my gender love balls because I'm a dog, right? I love to chase tennis balls, send that to the archive because it's a wonderful little snapshot of what the community is like. It doesn't have to be a page. It doesn't have to be 50 pages. It can be a couple paragraphs. A few of our entries in the project are a couple of paragraphs. Let me see if I can't find. I have 3 screens. One of them is being taken up by this goddamn slideshow page. Let me see if I can't find a link to the Alter Human archive, because Paige just pinged me on it. This is my hold music. It sucks. No, it's not that far. Hold on. There it is. Okay. Oh, it doesn't have a link to the Alter Human archive. God dang it. I will find a link to the Alter Human archive and I will post it in chat because I am a bad historian. But at the very least, one of my best suggestions is here. Let me pull up a. Is this gonna pull up my screen, or is this just gonna? No, it's doing the. Thank you so much, Pandora. Oh my god. Let me see if I can change stream settings. That's not what I want. Stage presentation. Can I change input? Stop streaming. That's not what I want. Turn off microphone. No, that's not what I want. Discord. How in the hell do I change my streamy thingy? Turn on camera. I don't want to do that. I don't want to change windows. There it is. Found it. I don't know how to do Discord anymore. This one. All right. Oh, that didn't change the window. Thank you very much. Not that one. Nope, not that one. This one. Go live. There we go. Okay. Let me show you. So this is the Wayback Machine. This is the Internet Archive. You guys might have heard this term before or of this website. Let's log out. So this is just a Firefox edition that you can add to your Firefox. And so let's go to NeoCities. Let's go to my website, right? If I want to document this, save page now. Outlinks means that it's going to crawl my website to try and pick up the other links on my page. Oops, that's the wrong thing. I'm just showing all of my stuff to the world. So like right now, archiving link. So it's going to pick up my website and take a snapshot of it. My infograph would be good things to submit to stuff. Probably sounds interesting. Most of them are pretty basic, just me being frustrated and misinformation. Yes. One of the greatest things about having these things archived is because you can show primary citations, primary sources to these people of, hey, this is why your information is incorrect, but be polite about it because, like, here, I have a source. And if people are willing to update um, their thoughts and beliefs and their, you know, then, excuse me, being able to show them that reinforces it. And then, as you can see, Wayback Machine save successful. Oh my god, I can't talk anymore. So if I click this calendar button, this shows when my website was snapshotted. And I can go back to any of these snapshots and see what it looks like. So you can see changes, which is really great because it helps us learn when things change. Like if you notice one of my headmates isn't on my sidebar here, that's because it's an old snapshot. So that is why I would personally suggest, if you like to look at Alterhuman websites, Tumblr does not Wayback Machine very easily at all. I have tried. It does it with some success, not much. It's always worth a try though, just in case it does work. Wayback Machine deleting headmates. So then you can also go to the oldest snapshot, the newest snapshot, and look, this is right here on my taskbar. I can go right to this. Better yet, I don't know if I have it enabled on mine. Oh no, that's not what it is it? Autosave page. Yeah, I do not have this activated because I wasn't sure if it was going to impact my my computer's performance. However, if you autosave page, archive URLs that have not previously been archived will be archived as you visit pages. So if you like to look at Alterhuman stuff, I would absolutely suggest having the Wayback Machine, going your general settings, and ticking autosave pages, because what that does is some of our historians may never see these pages that you see. But then we're able to find them by browsing the archive if they have been saved, and that information becomes permanent. We are able to find it later. Which is, again, I cannot stress enough how important it was to this project. What time is it? 1:45. I still have 15 minutes. I can continue to rant. No, I won't. Unless anybody else has any other questions, I think I went through all the points that I've had before on this panel before. So I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for coming out. It has been a pleasure. I love getting to perform is the wrong word, but I love getting to show this essay, this project off to people because it's so important. So, yeah. Have a good day, y'all. Thanks for coming out. All right.